Mike Norvell will be locked in at Florida State, or so it seems. At least avoided this initial disaster of starting over again more than anything else for Florida State. What are we talking? 8 years at over $10 million plus. We're still awaiting word on some of the details for the exact dollar amounts, and also, most importantly, I think the buyout, Gene. But the news is good. Mike Norvell will be the head coach at Florida State next year.
Yeah. Boy, the last 48 hours have been a little scary for Florida State fans, all the other stuff going on. That it looked at one point, I think yesterday afternoon, it was looking a little scary. Now, what we don't ultimately know, Jeff, is how much was this driven by the Jimmy Sexton media machine to try to drive up the height to get his clients some more money. But yeah, it was back and forth going on with Alabama. I mean, everything we had heard at the time, he was a serious contender. He was on, quote unquote, on the list. I don't think he was 1 or 2, even 3, but he was on that list, which makes you nervous because obviously guys we saw drop off, Sarkisian, the Oregon head coach, people kept dropping off the list. So you worried at some point they might get to Norvell. So it looked a little scary there. But yeah, obviously things started trending. You saw some of the lines kind of late last night going back. And I love tracking that stuff because we saw it with Florida State in the playoffs, Jeff.
Yeah.
When those lines suddenly, a couple hours before they announced, they swapped, where Florida State was almost a 50-50 at that point to make the playoffs. So you do track those things. So it started to trend in the right way. They got him locked down for another 8 years. And it's over a $2 million raise, approximately per year, which is a nice bump up through 2032. So that's a long-term commitment. And as you said, now the biggest question, what is that buyout going to be? Because I got to think, if you signed him to 8 years, guaranteed, it's got to go both ways. So you're not dealing with this crap again. So next year, whatever, LSU's looking for a coach or whoever. We went through this with Jimbo Fisher. It seemed like year after year after year. I don't think the fans, the administration want to deal with this every year.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing, Gene, because on the one hand, you understand the way this business works. And if you've got a good coach and he's proving himself, then you made a good decision when you made the hire, fresh on the heels of having made a disastrous decision. And so he's proven himself in a quick amount of time, which means he's an attractive candidate at 42 years old, an up-and-coming coach who's turned this thing around to the tune of 23-3 over the last 2 years. People are going to come after your coach, and you want to have a coach that is elite. But this is what comes with the territory. Then the other problem you have is, I think no matter what that buyout is, Gene, and you certainly can make it prohibitive, but I think we all know the deal here. For as long as Florida State remains in the ACC, this is always going to be a danger that your coach could get picked off by a school that frankly has far more funds and, if desperate enough, can easily pay an exorbitant buyout. But you do want to make it much more difficult. So that's the next thing I want to see. What is that number? Gene, we can speculate. We would think, I think you and I were talking just off the air, it has to be doubled, maybe tripled, if not more, for this buyout compared to the paltry $4 million that it was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, it doesn't necessarily present. If one of these huge mega schools from the Big Ten or the SEC come in, even if it's 15 million, let's throw out there. I mean, if it's that amount, it doesn't necessarily subsidize, but you would be much better positioned a year or two from now. If you're in one of those mega conferences, you'll have the funds to match that. And the other thing that's a concern, Jeff, on this, look, right now, the administration is absolutely perfect. They are all in on helping football. They understand the importance of it to the university, to the other programs as well that benefit from football. That wasn't the case a few years ago for Florida State. There's no reason. We heard rumors in the offseason about Alford being looked at by a West Coast school. I mean, it doesn't mean a couple of years from now that the administration is still intact the way it is. So the more you can lock this stuff down, in both of us, anybody who's been around college football for a while, realize how rare it is they find a good coach. Just go down the road in Gainesville. How many guys have they cycled through? So I've lost track since Urban Meyer. And look, go to Tennessee, go to, all these other schools. Auburn, they've been cycling through coaches
Miami.
Well, I think that program is broken. That's a different scenario. That's a different example, Jeff. I'm talking about actual real programs that have the resources, that are really dedicated to it. So, I mean, but it's really difficult to find a coach. I don't know what more Norvell needs to do to prove that he is one of those rare coaches that really knows what he's doing. He knows how to build a program. He knows how to get the right talent in there. He knows how to coach. He's organized. He works great with the media, the boosters. He checks off all the boxes, and he's young. I mean, to me, I think this is a great move by the administration to lock him down for as long as you possibly can.
I don't know that they had a choice. I mean, like everybody else, when this became a very distinct possibility, you know, you start looking at a Jamie Chadwell, you start looking at a Glenn Schumann at Georgia, who's only 33 years old, but can really recruit, is well thought of. Rumors that, you know, Nick Saban was certainly going to try to take him away from Georgia, all this stuff. So you start trying to put together candidates. But, Gene, the reality for Florida State is, had they not done this, starting over feels untenable right now. You're in the middle of a lawsuit. You're just starting again on this indoor, not this indoor practice facility, the football only facility. You're doing all these different things, but you've already been burned. The fan base feels absolutely as if they've been kicked in the cojones repeatedly, fresh off a 13-0 season. To have lost Norvell in the short term anyhow, it would have been chaos, because look what you just brought in the past week alone in the transfer portal. You would have watched that scatter to the wind.
Yeah. That's a great point, Jeff, because this is even a year ago now. If the unlimited transfer possibility, all those guys in here in May, they could all be gone. I mean, so, and you're right. The amount of uncertainty and chaos that's happened the last 2 months for Florida State, they could not. I don't know what this could have set the program. What if we've gone through Willie Taggart. What if the next one you hire is Willie Taggart, and all of a sudden things don't work out in the conference and this program's dead in a few years? I mean, it seemed like it was that precarious. To have that stability, to have that known commodity that you're going to be all right, I think is exactly what this fan base, what everybody needs right now that's associated with Florida State. So no, this was, again, you can't underestimate. I think the timing is great that they got this. Maybe it ended up working for the better, that you have this stress of, oh my God, you could lose Mike Norvell, and suddenly, like, no, he committed. He believes in this program. The administration believes in him. They're doing the right thing. So this is a very positive sign. And you got 2 stud transfers on campus right now, or on their way to campus. I mean, if you lock these 2 guys down with Norvell coming back, I mean, woo, giddy up, man. It could be another ACC title this year.
Yeah, and it's you brought up a really salient point here, Gene, in that the administration is committed to football at a time where they have to be committed to football, because it's what drives the bus. They're trying to get in one of the Power 2 conferences, and you're trying to survive over the course of this next year while the lawsuit goes on. But it sends a message to ESPN and Fox, if you'd like, the SEC and the Big Ten, that you are very serious about playing big boy football, and here's the money to prove it. You are now making Mike Norvell a top 5 paid coach in the college football world. So what does that tell you? It's, once again, brand recognition, success on the field, investment off of the field. It all comes together to make a very loud point as to how committed Florida State is.
Yeah, how interesting is that? You're right. It's almost like, if you look at it from a financial perspective, you're making an investment right now, because Florida State you're like trying to almost sell your business to someone else. So you're like your top salesman. You locked him down for a long time. So the guy that's made the engine go is here. So when this thing, and look, it's going to come. We all know it's going to come soon, where it's going to be Big Ten or SEC. And if you can prove you've got the proven commodity in the product, you got the people running the ship with the administration and the head coach are all there, that success, that makes it we've seen tweet after tweet an example of how marketable Florida State is. TV ratings, revenue generation, fans going to games, all the metrics that you want to see. Like, this is a major program that we want to be affiliated with. All the elements are there. They've made the investment.